back to another week, friends. So this week we have the theme of Amelia, Bedelia. If you've never heard or listened to any of these stories, they are absolutely hysterically funny. It's a woman or a lady who misunderstands all of the directions that she's given. It's almost like she doesn't understand English. So kick back, enjoy the week of Amelia Bedelia. The first one is Amelia Bedelia's masterpiece. The minute Amelia Bedelia walked into the art museum, she knew it would be an exciting day. Wow, said Amelia Bedelia. Look at all this amazing art. The people look interesting too. One person stood out from the others. Everyone was staring at him. It is not polite to stare, said Amelia Bedelia. I will make him feel at home. She walked over to the man and said, Excuse me, what are you looking at? He did not answer, so she said, It must be very interesting. He didn't say a word, so she said, May I borrow your binoculars? He did not move a muscle. I will get his attention, said Amelia Bedelia. She reached out to tap him on the shoulder. Suddenly, a voice behind her boomed out. Do not touch the art! Yipes, said Amelia Bedelia. She jumped behind the man and hid. Mrs. Rogers, said Amelia Bedelia, you scared the daylights out of me. I am so sorry, said Mrs. Rogers. You are not allowed to touch the art. Is his name Art? Said Amelia Bedelia. No, it is Art, said Mrs. Rogers. It is a sculpture called Birdwatcher. The artist fooled me, said Amelia Bedelia. It's tough to tell people from the art. Come along, said Mrs. Rogers. Let me show you some of other works of art. They walked across the main gallery. Thanks for coming, said Mrs. Rogers. The museum needs your help today. My pleasure, said Amelia Bedelia. It's fun to be surrounded by art. This isn't the art, said Mrs. Rogers. This is the museum gift shop. This is a store? Said Amelia Bedelia. You mean this stuff is for sale? Oh my, yes, said Mrs. Rogers. These are genuine reproductions. I get it, said Amelia Bedelia. These are real fakes. I guess so, said Mrs. Rogers. That is one way to put it. Amelia Bedelia saw a familiar face staring at her from a shelf. Look here, said Amelia Bedelia. Who does this remind you of? It's Cousin Alcaloo, said Mrs. Rogers. Were his ancestors Roman? They sure were, said Amelia Bedelia. His family was roaming all over the United States. I see, said Mrs. Rogers with a laugh. Let's buy it for his birthday. How much is it? Said Amelia Bedelia. It is a bargain, said Mrs. Rogers. The real thing would be priceless. Price? Less? Said Amelia Bedelia. You mean without a price? It would be free? Not really, said Mrs. Rogers. Compared to the original art, this reproduction is worthless. Worth? Less? Said Amelia Bedelia. Worth less than what? Than the real thing, said Mrs. Rogers. That sounds wacky, said Amelia Bedelia. If the real thing doesn't have a price, how could it be worth more? Just then a man walked up to them. Amelia Bedelia, said Mrs. Rogers. Meet the director of the museum. Pleased to meet you, said the director. My name is Arthur Stiles, but you can call me Art. Nice to meet you, said Amelia Bedelia. You have been very busy, Art. The museum is full of works of art. Art laughed and said, I wish I were that talented. I took care of the art collection. I can't take credit for it. I'm a collector too, said Amelia Bedelia. Of what? Said Art. Paintings? Sculptures? Aluminum foil, said Amelia Bedelia. She reached into her purse and pulled out a big shiny ball of foil. She's very handy, said Mrs. Rogers, and she's our newest volunteer. That is terrific, said Art. You could work here in the store. Great, said Amelia Bedelia. With my employee discount, I will save Mrs. Rogers lots of money. Amelia Bedelia, said Mrs. Rogers, do not be so forward. Amelia Bedelia took a step backwards. If you think about discounts, said Art, you must have a head for figures. Really? Said Amelia Bedelia. I have an idea, said Art. Look around the museum. See what interests you. Then we can figure out a way for you to help. A head for figures. Figures meaning numbers. Sounds like a plan, said Amelia Bedelia. Before I go, may I buy this? Certainly, said Art. I will even give you my discount on that. Bust. Bust? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Is that a bargain because it's busted? It isn't broken, said Mrs. Rogers. Of course not, said Art. A bust is a sculpture of a head, shoulders, and chest. I see, said Amelia Bedelia. You can see the real thing, said Art, if you walk through that door. Amelia Bedelia said thanks and goodbye. Then she took the shopping bag and headed off to explore. Amelia Bedelia found the real bust right away. Oh my gosh, said Amelia Bedelia. Here's Cousin Alcaloo, just like Art said. And there is no price on it, just like Mrs. Rogers said. Amelia Bedelia took the bust out of her bag. She unwrapped it and compared it to the one on the pedestal. The bust we bought is in better shape. I know how to help the museum. I will loan the museum our bust while I take the priceless one home and clean it up. Priceless? Priceless means it's worth so much money. I don't think she's helping. What do you think? Amelia Bedelia swapped the bust. She carefully wrapped the museum bust, put it in her bag, and tidied up. Achoo! Amelia Bedelia sneezed. Ancient art is so musty and dusty. Maybe I should try something newer. Amelia Bedelia saw a sign. This way to modern art. She did exactly what it said. I see why they call this one Banana Split. It sure is. She thinks it's for the name of it, or why it's split in half. Ouch! This reminds me of the day Mr. Rogers ran his car into the garage door. Did they hang this one upside down? I will bet the floor was covered with paint. Looks like somebody already cleaned it up. When Amelia Bedelia turned the corner, she was shocked by what she saw. My goodness, said Amelia Bedelia. Art would be mad to see this mess in his museum. I'll straighten it up now. I think that's the way it's supposed to look, but I could be wrong. Amelia Bedelia got the cleaning cart from the other gallery and went to work. How strange, said Amelia Bedelia. All the food is plastic. No wonder they left it behind. Amelia Bedelia worked as fast as she could. She finished up just as Art walked into the gallery. Here you are, said Art. What have you been up to? See for yourself. Excuse me, said Amelia Bedelia. Art couldn't believe his eyes. Amelia Bedelia, shouted Art. What have you done? I think she made a big mistake. I cleaned up, said Amelia Bedelia. I am a housekeeper. I know exactly what I'm doing. It wasn't a mess, said Art. This was a work of art. Please, said Amelia Bedelia. Don't blame yourself, Art. This was the work of a slob. No, it wasn't, said Art. A famous modern artist installed this work of art. She called it Family Room. Whose family? Said Amelia Bedelia. Did a family of raccoons live here? We disagree about art, said Art. But if you keep helping like this, we won't have a museum left. Do not touch one more thing, please. Art walked away, shaking his head. Amelia Bedelia felt terrible. A teacher with students passed by on a tour of the museum. Amelia Bedelia decided to follow them. In the next gallery, the students gathered around their teacher. "What type of painting is this?" asked the teacher. "It's a landscape," said a boy. "And what kind of painting is this?" she asked. "That's a seascape," said the girl. "And what is this?" the teacher asked. Amelia Bedelia raised her hand. "I know," she said. "It's a fire escape." All the children laughed and giggled. One of the students said, "It's a cityscape." "That figures," said Amelia Bedelia. "Are you Amelia Bedelia?" asked the teacher. "That's me," she said. "I thought so," said the teacher. "You helped at our school play last year. That was fun," said Amelia Bedelia. "May I ask a favor?" said the teacher. "One of my students doesn't feel well. Would you please sit with him until we complete our tour?" "I'll be glad to," said Amelia Bedelia. A boy with a sketch pad came forward. "He is the best artist in our school," said the teacher. "His name is Drew." "He'll fit right in here," said Amelia Bedelia. "The head of the museum is named Art." The class moved on. Drew began to draw. "How do you feel?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "Much better," said Drew. "I was sick of hearing about art. I wanted to do art." "What do you like to draw best?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "I like figures," said Drew. "Me too," said Amelia Bedelia. "My favorite is the number 8. Not a number figure. "Not number figures," said Drew. "Human figures. People tell me I have an eye for figures." "That's funny," said Amelia Bedelia. "I was told I have a head for figures." "Well," Drew said, "let's go figure." They laughed and walked next door. "Shh," said Drew. "A real artist." "He must work for the museum," whispered Amelia Bedelia, "making genuine reproductions." "Maybe not," said Drew. "Many artists copy famous paintings to improve their skills." They watched him paint some more. "He is very talented," said Drew. "He sure is," said Amelia Bedelia. "I can't tell his copy from the real thing." Another kind of painter walked by. "Golly," said Amelia Bedelia, "this place is full of painters." They followed him into an empty gallery.